Our guest is here, and we couldn't be happier. He is one of my favorite players. We can't believe we pulled this off. It's Chris Paul. We'll get you right here. All right, 5. All right, we did it, fam. We did it.
Listen, man, Ryan. First and foremost, hold on 1 second. First and foremost, I want to apologize. I don't know who did my schedule, but I was somewhere deep in Jersey, and I finished at this bookstore. And what's it called? Bookends. Yeah, and then I was like, I gotta go to Ryan. And they was like, it's a 45-minute drive. I said, oh damn. So I apologize. I'm serious. I hate that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. You don't have to apologize, but just so now the audience knows, this whole last 3 hours, this is what I've been dealing with. Going because then, it was one thing hey, he's available. This is and this is going back a year when we were trying to request you. Then I was going to fly out to Phoenix and I was going to stay there for the Super Bowl. And it was just going on and on and on. And then they're
I don't know none of this.
Yeah. And they were like, hey, they're like, we think we can get him for the New York show. And I was like, okay, but you're going to be busy. The new book is out. And then I saw him on GMA and I saw him doing everything. I was like, man, by the time
I did The View today.
Right. I was like, he's going to be so sick of this by the time he rolls around. And then you get traded.
Oh, did I?
So then I'm like, every day I'm waking up in LA before I fly out here. I was like, I'm going to get he's not doing it.
I'm here.
So here you are, man. Well, look, I had a plan on how I wanted to interview you, and it obviously got altered. And I've seen probably everything you've done, and everybody's kind of asked, and you land and the whole deal. But what's it been like now? A couple of days sinking in.
I'm better today.
All right.
I'm serious. It's funny, man. My wife, she over here. She been with me every day, all day, through everything. You know what I mean? So it's you give it a day yesterday to process, and now you sort of wait and see what's next. And I mean,
yeah. No, look, man. They want you here. Were you I know how the contract works and all that stuff. We knew when it was first extended, you're like, okay, there'll be a decision and see how it goes. But I probably know that, but I just want to hear from you. What did you want to do when the season ended? Where were you with the team and the new ownership and bringing in KD and the Denver series? Where were you about next year?
It's a good question, man. I wanted to be with Phoenix. I'm not gonna lie to you. Since Matt took over the team, I actually talked to him pretty often, regularly. You know what I mean? So, I loved it in Phoenix. Loved it. I don't know how to say it. Whatever. I guess loved. past tense. I loved it in Phoenix. Those last 3 years have been amazing. Our team, my relationship with Book is like none other. It's a great city to live in. It's a great fan base to play in front of. I was an hour flight away from my wife and my kids, so everything was just perfect about it.
Not New York.
You never know, man. I'm serious. You never know. Real talk.
So the deal goes
Not
through.
like that. I'm just saying my career. You never know.
The deal goes through, and now you said you had a little more time to process it. You're not, as I've said at the beginning. And then, I know Winger a little bit from the Clippers time. He's running the show. I'm sure ownership gets involved a little bit. I don't know what you can tell us or what you can share. I mean, feel free to go all the way. But where are you?
Right. Go ahead, Chris. Talk. Why don't?
Floor is yours.
Me and Winger actually missed each other, right? So he got to the Clippers after I left.
What, in 17?
Whenever after I left.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of them years we running together. I didn't realize that he was with OKC too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now Will Dawkins is there, and Will was with me at OKC. So crazy how all that stuff worked, but we was never at the same team together.
Right. So what do you think, like, do you go into it now being like, hey, I'd rather not rebuild, or like I'm open to anything? They have a decision with a lot of money in play here in 7 days. So you're looking at me being like, you don't think I know that? What can you actually share with us that you can tell us about, like, all right, all the different things that I'm thinking about? Because obviously there's just speculation in every corner. It's actually kind of nice too, because it seems like everybody wants you.
Yeah, it's a lot of conversations being had. I haven't talked to Wing or anything like that. As you know, things aren't even finalized. Like, they got to have trade calls and all this different type stuff. So.
Yeah, there'd be a third team and some other guys getting moved around in it. So
who knows? You probably know more than I do.
Did they send you? They didn't send you a Wizards jersey yet, because I was going to order one for my. Look, the funny thing, you know,
the mellow Atlanta thing.
Yeah, that's what, the Rasheed jersey. I love when I go to like a concert and see a guy in a Rasheed Wallace Atlanta jersey. I'm like, all right,
that happened.
Yeah, he was there like 3 games before he got spun to Detroit.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I played for the Lakers for a few hours.
What's that memory like for you versus like it? Because I had heard a story you wanted to come here and play with Melo more than you wanted to go to L.A.
Who you be talking to? That's the next book.
All right.
That's the next book. But it was a lot going on at 2011 summer. You know what I mean, as far as teams and all this stuff. But everything happens for a reason, you know, and I'm a firm believer in that. And I'm grateful for everything that has taken place in my career, good and bad. A lot of the unfortunate situations have been the things that have given me that drive and given me that mindset. So, you know, just try to have fun with all of it.
I know whenever, you know, we got the opportunity to do this, like the hardcore listener, you know, me the last years, and like you wouldn't have remembered when we met. I think you were at a national championship game a long time ago, and I was still doing the show with Van Pelt or whatever.
You're going to tell me what I remember, right?
No, but it was like somebody came over and dominated it, and I was like, oh, here, I'm gonna get out. You know how it is. So when we were doing this, we're like, oh, everybody, you know, like how do we talk about all the stuff? Because I've seen some of the other clips and I'm like getting defensive for you on your behalf. And I'm like, well, don't you understand? The other guy got hurt that year and then whatever. And like whenever
you sound like one of my family members.
Right. No, but then I'd see the graphics, right, of the playoff series. They'd be like, oh, so it counts when he's actually the one that's hurt? Like, you're supposed to agree with me a little bit more on that one. I guess the thing that I always loved, like going back to Wake even, I was like, all right, this guy is tough. He's smart. He's efficient. This guy's a motherfucker. Like, he's everything I want in a player. And as we look at the culmination of the career, it's like everything I believe in is that you're the guy. And I still believe that. And yet you've been so unlucky. You've been so unlucky, man. And what's the worst one?
Ooh, man. What's the worst one? Damn, that's tough, ain't it? That's tough when you can't figure out which one.
No, but I mean this is like,
no,
like even this year against Denver, and I'm at home, and I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
That's the same thing I said.
I have a job, but like I don't want to seem like but I mean, it was just there'd be different ones where I'd be like, you can't possibly, like, no, you can't, and like we haven't even met, and I'm at home devastated.
Imagine what it's like for me, or especially for my wife. That's who it's really hard on. I'll tell you the truth. So a very unlucky one was the Portland situation. When I stole the ball with this hand, this finger got caught in a jersey, and I got a spiral fracture and had to have 16 screws in my hand. I remember I got home that night, and like she's the one who has to deal with me, right? And I'm serious when I say that, because because there has been a few of those unlucky situations, is that I give myself that night, right? Like I give myself that night to be upset, to cry if it is a situation or whatnot. And then I always tell myself is the next morning is over with, right? You got to get back to work. You got to start rehab. You got to do what you got to do. And let me tell you, people are going to talk. Always. Why not? You know what I mean? But I always say there are people who talk and there are people that do, right? So I could feel sorry for myself and sit on my ass and be like, damn, why did this happen? You know what I mean? And that may happen that first night, but then the next day, I'm right back to work. So that happened in Portland. A playoff series with OKC, that was really tough. You know what I mean? Because it's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that offline at some point. But when the turnover happened, the foul and all that stuff, Russ hit the 3 free throws, then we run the play and don't get a shot up. I was messed up in the locker room all the way to when I got home. I remember I was just up all night, like, because you feel like you let people down. You know what I mean? So that one was probably one of the toughest.
Yeah, my most downloaded, I think a top 5 most downloaded episode was after Dallas, and people just wanted to hear me be miserable.
Oh, yeah.
And after like 30 minutes, I was like, what else do you want me to tell you? I'm bummed out.
Oh, yeah.
I have no excuse.
No, none of us did. We just got our ass whooped.
I heard there was something else, but I don't want to get anybody into trouble.
Yep.
But look, I want to talk about this because I read this and I knew a little bit about you, but obviously I didn't know the full scope of the story. I don't know why that was so funny, but 61, the book is out now. And I love the timeline of how you did it. Your editors, I think you guys did a great job of going back. And, one of the things that I know is, working for your grandfather at his station and it being historic that he owned it and you and CJ going there. And what I loved about it is that you actually it sounded like you wanted to go to the gas station to hang out with your grandfather, hang out with all these old dudes, these legends. And it kind of speaks to I just think there's a pretty simple rule in life. If you learn how to be somebody that cares about hard work, if you learn that hard work is your answer, it can solve a lot of your problems. And as I was reading about you and your brother, I'm like, actually a lot of the stuff, even your playing style, made sense to me.
Yeah, in the book, I hope y'all I mean it when I said if you don't like me, still read it. You know what I mean? Still, which that's cool too. I think it was fun to write the book because I got a chance to sort of talk about why I'm wired the way I am. I talk about my relationship with my grandfather, who was like my best friend, and I worked at a gas station every summer. Right, my grandfather had the first black-owned service station in North Carolina. So during the summer, yeah. And so I wanted to be like him. I used to walk around with a red rag in my pocket. You know what I mean? Used to change tires, check oil, all this different stuff. And my granddad just showed us what the work looks like, right? And that's what I talk about a lot of times, is actually doing the work, right? That's the hard part, is checking in, clocking in, right? So when you stay out late at night, get up in the morning and do the work. And so my grandfather used to open his gas station at 6 a.m. When me and my brother wanted shoes or sneakers or whatnot to hoop, my parents both worked. My granddad used to have a wad of money in his pocket, in his front pocket. He used to keep cash, this big knot of money. So we knew my granddaddy had it. We knew he had it. We used to be like, Papa, we want some shoes. And my granddad would be like, come to work at the service station for a week. Come for the weekend. So it made me appreciate the work. So I'm grateful to him for that.
There's a lot of really great stories in there. And one of my favorite was you and CJ took his cigarettes from him. You started.
Anybody in here from North Carolina? Okay, nice. Where are you from, boss? Raleigh, 919, all right? So I'm from Winston-Salem. Around that area, they call it Tobacco Road, right? So there's a big plant in Winston-Salem called R.J. Reynolds. So that's where a lot of my family worked. So my field trips when I was a kid was to tobacco plants. Seriously, like Joe Camel used to be at the school. Like everybody, like smoking cigarettes was a thing, like a real big thing. And so my grandmother died when I was 7 from lung cancer, right? And so for me as a kid, when I saw cigarettes, that meant cancer, right? Just that's what it translated. And so my grandfather, when he was at the service station, he would always be smoking cigarettes. And I'd be like, no. And so me and my brother would like take his cigarettes and throw them away. as a kid, you don't know how expensive cigarettes are. Right? So my granddaddy, boy, when he called us, he was about to kill us. And we like, Papa, we just trying to save your life. So that's sort of what we did all the time until we saw how much they cost.
I remember, it's you look back and stuff you do when you're younger, and like the thing with my grandmother on one side was in a wheelchair. She was in a nursing home, and so like I would go around and light everybody up at like 8, 9 years old, and sit in the smokers lounge with all of them.
Just didn't know no better, did you?
And they'd be like, "Hey,"
they probably asked you if you wanted to smoke,
right?
They probably tried to pass it to you.
Right. And so then, like, elementary school, we had some thing where it was like, smoke out cancer or whatever. And then it was like, hey, give this warning thing to one person in your life that smokes. So I was like, oh, cool. I'll give it to my grandmother. And it's my dad's mother. And we were headed over to the nursing home, and I had the certificate. And he's like, what the fuck is that? I was like, oh, I'm going to give it to grandma. Encourage her. It's this work assignment. He's like, bro.
Did you? But did you give it to her?
Yeah, she was like, cool, give me a Pall Mall. Like, there's certain things when you get older, you're like,
yeah, she wasn't trying to hear that shit.
Yeah, she wasn't going to happen. The CJ stuff, your brother, who, man, like, without him, huh?
Oh man, my brother. It's crazy he's not here. He's in town, but my brother, man. I mean this when I say it. I have no sisters, no other brothers. It's just me and him. My older brother. Like when I say ride or die, I mean I done had playoff games where what's his name? The referee James Gucci. They call him Gucci Man, the referee.
Oh, Williams?
Yeah, look at you knowing James. Wait, James tried to throw my brother out of a game in Utah. In Utah. Come to find out, he reffed my brother when my brother was in college. Yeah. But my brother, as soon as you walk into an arena, whatever, you're gonna know where he is. My brother, we get into it sometimes too. My brother yelling at me during the game, talking about my turnovers. Man, shut up. Shut up. I was playing at OKC. At the time when I first came into the league, and I had got a couple turnovers, and we coming down the court, and he's standing up talking to me like he was a coach. Man, I went so nuts on him. Man, shut the hell. You think I turned it over on purpose? But that's my brother. You know what I mean? Like he ride or die for real.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like the stuff with him in the book, you're like, all right, without him, like, all
this stuff would be pointless. If you don't have somebody that you can enjoy all this stuff with. And I mean, he's been there. I mean, yesterday. So yesterday I had, what we do? Good Morning America, a few shows this, and then I got a break like from 2:30 to like 6. I went over to the union office, right, to work out. Guess who I went with? My brother and my dad. And Gene helped us rebound. For real, like my brother and my dad, I'm 18 years in this, and I'm in there working, but it was so dope for me because 18 years into this, and I'm looking on the court, and my dad and my brother, who we used to be in the backyard in Winston-Salem doing this, and we still doing it right now together, like us.
I don't want to be too forward, but are you guys shooting around tomorrow morning?
I gotta see what time my day starts. But the funniest part was, so at the union office, you got the court down here.
I heard it's sick. Like it's so sick that they're like, this is insane how nice this is.
Yeah, shout out to me and the executive committee. Yeah, the guys who did that, right? So let me tell you
and
this.
And the over 38 rule.
We gotta talk about that too. Yeah. So
you have to move that one back again.
So the court is down here, right? And the gym, like the weight room, is up here. So I'm upstairs working out in the gym, and I can look down and I see my brother and my dad down there playing horse, arguing. they so mad, talking about who got what letter or whatnot. It was cool to see. Dad'll be 63 in October. Still think he nice.
I think some people would be like, all right, if you mess with Chris, he's gonna hold a grudge. I had no idea the UNC stuff. Like that has to be for a Carolina kid, as you point out, you're number one. they take forever. And then when they're basically like, all right, now we're in, you're
saw
like,
that, huh?
peace.
Yeah. just a little grudge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm retelling the story, but like, were you, as you describe in the book, were you waiting for them so you could tell them no? Because
Absolutely. Absolutely. But my son is at Carolina basketball camp right now.
different regime, right?
No, but that was what it was. I mean, you got to think about it. I played JV basketball as a freshman and sophomore, right? And if you think back to it, they was in their right mind. Raymond Felton was a year older than me, and Raymond had already committed to go to Carolina. And they told me that I could come to Carolina, but I have to walk on. We ain't had no money like that. It was scholarship or nothing for me, so go deep.
Yes.
Go deep.
The thing that I'll get into it with people all the time is about like, all right, he gets to New Orleans, 20 more wins. I'm like, okay. And that was when I was like early. I remember I just got to ESPN2. I was like, I think he's the best point guard in the league already. And guys are like, you're out of your mind. You get to LA, I think it was like 7 more. The OKC year, I think you were given like less than 1% chance of even making the playoffs. Can I ask you this? Is this story true that when you got to OKC, Billy Donovan was like, hey, look, we're going to take it easy, smooth sailing, rest you, the whole deal. And you were like, fuck no.
Hell no.
What was that like?
Man, we out here, ain't we? We out here, ain't we? It's you know what happened, man. And I still talk to Sam Presti, text and talk to him and stuff. And Shea is for real like my brother. You know what I mean? And that OKC situation was one of the like a blessing in disguise for me. But when I got there, they met with me. They flew out to LA. Everybody met with me, my brother, my agent, and all of us. We was over at CAA in this building, and they like presented all this stuff to me. And they started talking about my family. Like, we know you love your family. You can go see them. You can go do this. And you can play this amount of games. You can do this and that. And I'm just looking at my brother and my agent, and I'm thinking, like, somebody ain't do their homework. I was like, they don't really know me too well. Because for me, it's always been a situation where, obviously, right, all those injuries and stuff that I've endured, it's hard. I can't go into a game like premeditate and be like, I'm not playing, right? There's so many opportunities occasions that have happened and I haven't been able to play. So when I can play, I want to play, So when they was saying, play this amount of games, play this minutes, I was like, look, man, I'm playing. If I can play, I want to play. And so they heard me. They heard me out, and it worked out.
Right. And then, the Phoenix part, like we can just keep going over it. And when I look at that resume, I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I see. This is the reality of you. Like to show up and average like 15 more wins as soon as you walk in the building. I'm like over 82. That's what we're talking about. Of course, nobody wants to hear it. So I just want it to work out for you, whatever it is. I really want whatever happens this offseason to be. You guys are like, dude, we get it.
Listen, man.
No, I mean, whatever. Screw it. I don't care. I'm just being honest.
No,
with you.
I genuinely appreciate it. Like seriously, like I really appreciate it.
I've never liked this in any of my interviews. So. Can I ask you a basket? We actually have some listener submitted ones. We'll wrap this up. Is that all right?
Man, you ask me whatever you want to.
All right. Because we know, seriously, like, you've been doing a lot of stuff, and we appreciate you making it. All right.
I'm okay, I promise.
Okay. Here's a question. This one's for me, though. I know you and LeBron are boys.
Why everybody say, oh?
I never felt like it made any sense for you to be on the same team, though, with your style. Now, granted, I feel like you both would figure out a way, but giving up some of those read possessions and him giving up some of those, I don't know. Am I nuts on that theory?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you just never know, right? Like, it's crazy. Whatever situation it is, I think great basketball minds, you find a way. You figure it out.
Yeah, I think you guys would, but it always was something where I was like, I'm surprised they're in such a hurry. But then sometimes I think you guys, when you're just buddies, you'd be like, hey, like Brandon Bass and Dwight Howard. I was like, okay, Oh wait, didn't they bring in Jarrett Jack?
What'd you say?
Yeah, no, it was there was actually, you had one of these. They were like, oh well, they brought in Jarrett Jack and that's this dude. And we're like, yeah, he probably still asked for a trade though. didn't New Orleans?
When I was in New Orleans?
Yeah, didn't New Orleans bring in Jarrett Jack? And we're like, problem solved.
Jay Jack is for real, like my family.
Yeah,
for real. So we played together in New Orleans.
And then you asked for a trade. I'm not on you. I'm pointing out how silly it is at times where they're like, no, that's his boy. And then you're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. So Jay Jack came in like at the beginning of that season when it was Monty's first year.
Right.
It was Monty's first year. So all that stuff, all these years we running together, man. That trade stuff happened after that season, right? Yeah, it was after that season.
Yeah.
Because I met with Monty about whether or not I was going to stay there. But I said something about it recently about how the team had been meeting with us, talking about moving here and there. It was all this uncertainty. So people forget that our team was, at the time, owned by the NBA.
Yeah, and the ownership prior to that wasn't a sweet time either.
George,
so,
Shin.
Yeah, so, I mean.
George drafted me. Appreciate you, George.
All right. We'll do some rapid fires here, and then you're going to take pictures with all 300 people, right? Like I did before? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We'll do one.
I'd rather get questions from all 300 people.
We'll do a group shot, then we'll be done. All right. This is from one listener. Best teammate you've ever had. Best player you've ever played with. I guess it's two different things here.
Yeah. Best teammate I've ever had. Probably David West. Yeah. D. West. Yeah, other than the time with the Clippers, I think my most tenured teammates were David West and one of my teammates, Rasul Butler. Rest in peace to him. Sul Bot, that was my man. Yeah.
So that's the best teammate. Who do you think the best player you've ever been on the team? Best player?
Oh, man, have to be between I played with peak Blake Griffin, KD. That was a few games. But that was
You never know. He could ask for a trade. I said it. Chris didn't.
James,
I like KD, by the way. So.
James was unbelievable. He had that 60-point triple-double. And then Book, man. What you say, man?
Nothing. No, you guys...
Jalen Brunson. That's my man. So Jalen, I'll tell you a quick story about Jalen. Y'all so lucky to have Jalen here. Y'all so lucky to have Jalen here. And I'm sure you know Leon.
Sure. Right, yeah.
Leon's my agent. Yeah, that was my agent who was for sure my family for life. Jalen, his dad was Leon's first client.
First client. I didn't know that.
So,
that's awesome.
I don't know what year that was, but one year I was traveling and I wanted somebody to travel and work out with me. It was Rick. It was Rick Brunson. So Jalen was like in the 8th grade or 9th grade or whatnot and was like working out and training with me, man. So Jalen been nice for a long time. Y'all just know that. Y'all getting to see it now. But Jalen was like in the 8th or 9th grade playing like 17 and under AAU. He just then always had a brilliant basketball mind, and him coming to New York just gave him the opportunity to run the show.
He's unbelievable, man.
I went to the national championship game with my son. It was the Final Four game on the national championship with Rick to watch Jalen play when he was in college. We were in San Antonio to play against the Spurs, and I got a chance to go watch Jalen.
Did you think he'd be this good when you saw him? Serious?
Absolutely.
What I didn't understand, what's always hard for me to figure out, and you would get it but like him understanding every angle, bump, step, like he's spent an entire life finishing against bigger people. so he has every single trick. But then to see him be the primary guy and still do it, that's the part that I'm...
His footwork, his pace. So that's the thing. Like, Jalen ain't the fastest. You know what I'm saying? He ain't the strongest, but his pace, his quickness, his footwork or whatnot. So, and he a dog. Like, he got grit. You know what I mean? So,
all right, we have 3 more, and then we'll send our guy on his way. He's had a busy day.
Told you I'm good. Yeah, like I got a curfew. She in charge. We got a curfew? Do we got a curfew?
All right. We can keep going. This is from a listener, and it says, when Harden watches the play during the playoffs, is that brilliant spacing, or does it suck when his defender comes to help when you drive? That was Doug from Milwaukee.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
We'll let that one slide.
You're a sicko. Man, listen, them 2 years in Houston. Somebody asked me about it in an interview today. That first year in Houston was one of the best teams I've ever been on my entire career. When I say our defense was so locked in, and what's crazy is when you watched our offense, it used to be so funny because I watch basketball all day, every day. I know this game like the back of my hand. But people used to always be like, man, it's just so boring to watch them play ISO, right? But we did that because we played the entire season to get ready for Golden State, right? And because you like...
No, I know. Daryl came on my show at the time, and he was like, yeah, we have a 78.4% chance of playing them. And like, and I mean,
so monotone.
And it was like...
That sound like
he was serious. And then Bob Myers came on like a couple weeks later, and we shared the clip. Like, the clip blew up. And then, if I'm Daryl, I'm like, what do you guys think we're doing over here? Like, clearly they're the favorite in all the different models. Yeah. And then Bob was like, oh my God, it's hilarious that he would have it to the number. But I'm like, that's Daryl. And I don't make fun of that at all. Like, he knew, and that's what you guys did.
To each his own. I wasn't with all the analytics either. You know what I mean? Seriously.
You are efficient, though.
Yeah. But it definitely took some getting used to because I didn't know all those different numbers. I'm like, eye test. I watch basketball. I can't tell you all the numbers. I mean, my very first team meeting when I got to Houston, it was crazy because D'Antoni was great, but D'Antoni will sort of say stuff to you without saying stuff to you. So we was in a team meeting, and he showed us a shot chart. And he said, all right, guys, this is what we want the shot chart to look like. And it was one shot outside of the paint, right? It was a game they had played or something like that the year before. So it's basically, it was these threes and we shoot these layups.
Yeah.
And he didn't tell me don't shoot mid-ranges, but this is what we want, guys. And so it took some getting used to, but we actually figured out a balance, right? We figured out a balance.
Well, to take that away from you is actually a mistake. And no, seriously, the mid-range stuff. And I even thought, like, again, more sort of the finals run, like, I thought you and Booker were kind of zagging in a way where now you're starting to attack places that for 6 months nobody's used to defending. Like, I do wonder if we're in some kind of evolutionary period where post touches may actually matter again. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just kind of some of the stuff that I'm seeing and thinking about more when I watch.
It's funny, man. We could talk basketball all day or when the league changed to a drop and all this different stuff, but the reason why I've always got to the mid-range, at least now at this point in my career, honestly, is because if I get all the way to the basket and there's a 7-foot guy standing by the rim, I feel like I'm giving him the advantage. Like, seriously, it's just that simple. If you're giving up this shot right here, why wouldn't I shoot it right here? Why dribble all the way to the goal and give the tall guy the advantage?
Right.
It was that simple.
And that's why when I watch Scoot, I'm like, that reminds me of somebody.
Who?
Scoot Henderson.
Yeah. Oh, he'll dunk on you.
Well, he'll do that too, but like when he has that snake dribble and then he kind of keeps you on the hip, and that kind of stuff, like his 3 numbers aren't very good. There's some weird shooting numbers if you go through it. You're like, wait, what the But like when I see him pull up and look that crisp on getting to that mid-range and either messing with the guy and drop or keeping the trail defender on his back hip, like it reminds me of you.
I started doing that my second year in the league. Like I literally just came up with that one day of practice with Tyson Chandler. Just because at that point in my career, people used to go under screens all the time. And so defense was a lot different then. And so I just in practice, I started snaking the screen. And what it did was it forced the 2-on-1. Right? Everybody that don't know basketball, like, what the hell is he talking about? But it forced the 2-on-1 because the guy guard me would end up being on my back. Tyson Chandler would roll. And now I was a lot more athletic at the time. But either I was on the rim or I was throwing a lob to Tyson.
Our last one. I did get a new place in L.A.
What does that mean?
If you want to split the utilities. If you end up professionally living there, that's all.
Yeah.
I know you have a place there. You don't really need
I already have a home there.
Yeah.
My wife and my kids live there. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you need to escape. Look, this book is a lot of fun. You guys know I'm a huge fan, so I'm biased, but it was great to know Chris Paul through the book. And give it up to Chris Paul.